Good morning. It is our time for coffee with KATELYN and obviously the pups. As you can see, they're enjoying a mid-morning snooze while I get ready with my grounds and hounds. I'll put a link to a discount code. Look how cute they are. I just can't handle them. So this morning I just wanted to talk about one thing, which is positive affirmations. You've probably seen some of the funny videos that I post about the things that I say to the puppies in the mornings. I give them positive affirmations and, you know, say that saying those things to them breathes life into them, breathes confidence into them, and it makes for a well-balanced pack. And like, I'm halfway joking, but I'm kind of not joking at the same time, because this was something that was super important for me when I was in treatment. One of the things that they made us do was positive affirmations, not only for ourselves, but also for other women in our group. And so I remember one thing that stuck with me was when we were in a small group and each girl had to sit in the middle in like an office chair, and we had to rotate as we faced the person that was speaking directly to us, telling us, you know, one good thing about us. And so, Sally girl, to hear what all these women had to say about me, how I was positive, kind, and always looking for a solution rather than a problem. They said that I was very solution-oriented. These things helped me believe that I had the tools capable of living life clean, and of living the way that I was supposed to live. And so when it came our turn to share something about somebody else that was in the group, learning how to give compliments and to speak goodness into other people became second nature. It's a lot harder to say it, you know, about ourselves, but that's why I feel like if I practice with the dogs, I'm more likely to be able to do it myself. Standing in front of a mirror and saying like one good thing about you is not always easy. If you have never practiced positive affirmation, try practicing with your dogs. Seriously, I know it sounds silly. It works wonders. And so today you're gonna get to hang out with us while we practice positive affirmations in front of the mirror. If someone has told you that you can't love anyone else, or no one else can love you until you love yourself, I hope that you won't take that to heart. I hope that you'll really think about what it is that you're worth, and knowing that... Goodness. Knowing that, you know, it's a freaking process, dude. Learning to love myself was a process. I had over 2 years clean, and everything looked good on the outside. I had a really good job, Jack and Sally. I was living on my own in Florida at the time, but there was something missing, and it was this void inside of me that I couldn't seem to fill, and I kept trying to fill it with attention from others, you know, constant selfies on Facebook, sleeping around with guys, anything that I could to not feel that sense of less than, not feeling like I'm good enough. And so the way that I like handled that was I overcompensated by acting overconfident, even though I really didn't believe that inside. And so I was 2 years clean and had this moment of complete desperation and just soul-seeking anguish of, you know, literally being in the fetal position, so devastated that even with that amount of clean time and everything looking so good on the outside, that it still felt like crap on the inside. And it was because I was looking for those things in the wrong place. And my sleeping around and stuff, it was kind of like, you know, when I was using, I was constantly having to sell myself, essentially, literally and figuratively, to get that next one. And so I think that the feelings of abuse and being used by men, particularly when I was using, I took that into recovery with me. I didn't have self-worth. I didn't know what self-love was. I didn't know what self-respect was. And I had a really distorted view of how I was supposed to achieve that. And for me, it was attention seeking from others. And so when I got to that place of desperation where I was just like, what's the point of staying clean if I'm this miserable, right? I had a moment of clarity where I was able to snap out of it for just long enough to realize that those things don't come from outside of me. Those things don't come from other people. They don't come from other men especially. And if I can't learn to love myself, like, it's gonna be a tough road. I got this false sense of getting power from it. They were literally like conquest to me, and I think it comes from the fact that when I was using, I had control over, you know, what I did and my behavior and my actions, but the dope led me to one more, and that was the easiest way to get it, was by using my body. And so in recovery, I took that with me, and I used that as a way to change how I perceived it, and it was not healthy. I thought that each time that I slept with whoever, I was gaining freedom from my past. I was gaining power from being able to do it on my terms. But it's just like dope. I was using against my will, just trying to fill this void. And so in this moment of clarity that I had, I started to think to myself, if you just learn to love yourself, you won't need to seek that validation from somebody else. You won't need to seek that from outside sources. You won't need to seek that from social media. You won't need to seek that from anything other than the one that matters, which is yourself and God, for me at least. And so I made a decision right then and there to not continue on the path that I was on. So often we talk about, like, you know, in recovery we have these little cliches, and one of them is give yourself a break. And when we say give yourself a break, that's not like give yourself a break in the bad behaviors that you're doing and like that it's okay. Give yourself a break means literally give yourself a break. Stop engaging in the behavior that you're engaging in, and give yourself a break from it. At least with dope, and I know for me, all the bad behaviors that I have, I can't lose the desire to do them until after I stop doing them. As long as I continue to use either dope or people or sex or money or my job or whatever it is that I'm using, as long as I'm using it, I can't get better. And so, like, I had to abstain. I had to abstain from having sex. I had to abstain from seeking that behavior or seeking that attention from others. And only then can I lose the desire to do so. And during that abstinence process, positive affirmations were so important to me, because for me, I usually have to act my way into a new way of thinking. Not often do I just realize that I need to do something and am I on board with it. I have to essentially fake it till I make it and practice my way into that new mindset. Little sweet pea sleeping. And so part of that is speaking, even though it's real truth and like intellectually I understand that the things that I'm saying to myself are true and honest and genuine, they don't feel real. So practicing that makes it easier, and eventually, like, I can believe it. Shortly after that moment of clarity, I had another eye-opening experience, to say the least. I'm not perfect, and because I can't just quit everything all at once because I, am a human being, it took some time for that pain to get great enough. And so I was at my friend Kyle's house, and I got a phone call from a number that I didn't recognize. And usually I don't answer phone calls that I don't know, but I had recently spoken at a treatment center and given my phone number out to some women, so I thought that maybe it was a call from one of them. When I answered it, on the other end was a woman screaming at me, nonstop screaming, I couldn't even get a word in, and she's going on and on about what a homewrecker I was, a whore, and this and that, and, literally any mean thing that you could possibly say to somebody she was saying to me. And so I finally realized, what she was going on about, and apparently I had been sleeping with her husband, and I didn't even know that he was married. Thankfully, I had learned enough in recovery at this point to understand that I didn't have to respond or react to what it was that she was saying. I was able to just let her scream at me and carry on. And I was able to pause instead of just immediately trying to defend myself, because at that point I had no defense. Even though I didn't know that he was married, I had a part in the situation, and my part was that I didn't get to know him well enough before sleeping with him, and I put myself in the situation. If I had taken some time to get to know him and not immediately slept with him, I would have learned or figured out that he was married. Granted, you can't in every situation, but if I had done my due diligence and worked a little bit harder in getting to know him, I would have probably seen the red flags. And so my part in that was that I could have stopped that. I could have controlled that. And granted, he probably would have done it with somebody else and still would have cheated on her, but it wouldn't have been with me. I was working on a ninth step at the time, and in that moment, I realized that I was never going to be able to make amends to this woman. We make direct or indirect amends to all those we've caused harm to, and I realized that I couldn't do that without causing more harm. Literally in that moment, I was like, I'm never going to put myself in this situation again. I learned that my own lack of self-love and self-respect and self-worth and self-image affects other people. Like, things aren't just about me. Things aren't just about how I feel and what it does to me. The fact that my inability to love myself and to feel worthy enough to not give myself away to whoever it is that comes down the street, that affects other people. And maybe, it wasn't my intention. My intention is never to harm somebody else, but intentions don't matter. Motives don't matter when harm is caused. Whether I meant for it to happen or not, harm was caused. It was like a light bulb in the sense that I realized that the only way to freedom for me is to learn how to find it inside. Something as silly as positive affirmations, that helps. Taking the time to really get to know me and what it was that I wanted and who I wanted to become. And then making a plan on how to get there, that's the key. Deciding that the behavior that I was engaging in wasn't okay and isn't okay, and I didn't want to be a part of it anymore, that's the second step. The first step is the awareness that, it's causing a problem and something's wrong. But that crucial next step, deciding to do something about it, and then the third step of actually doing something about it, whether that's through talking with a therapist, talking with your friends about it, being honest with somebody other than yourself about the fact that this is causing a problem in your life. And whatever that looks like for you, it may not look like sleeping around. It may not look like, my exact path does, but a lot of times I find that there's the same underlying situation for all of us. We just act out on it in a different way. If you can pinpoint what that looks like in your life, it might be a little bit easier to then say, okay, this is how it's negatively affecting me or somebody else, and then doing something about it. The turning point for me was realizing that it caused harm to somebody else, because I can hurt myself all day long and I have a pretty high, pain tolerance. Realizing how much harm I can cause to somebody else through my own actions, that was what did it for me. Learning self-love and self-respect and self-worth and self-image and all of those self things. It may seem like we're super, involved in ourselves, but the reality is that it in turn affects other people. It's still uncomfortable, and this was over 3 years ago. It still feels funny to say these things, not necessarily to them, but to me. I know that I still have work to do on myself. I don't claim to be perfect or to completely, constantly have 100% self-confidence. You can ask Jeffrey. On any given day, I'm questioning whether he loves me and wants to be with me. It still happens, but I find that the more often I practice these things, the longer time is in between my major experiences of self-doubt. Don't mind my dirty mirror because I haven't dusted this morning. I also didn't put on makeup specifically for this because I find that when I'm speaking positively to myself at my most vulnerable, which would be without makeup on, feeling naked, feeling not pretty enough, not good enough. When I say those things when I'm feeling that, it means a lot more. And also don't mind my special contraption here. This is what they call a stabilizer, and it's just a little tool that I have for vlogging and videoing. So we're gonna start off by, let's go puppies first. It always makes it easiest. Sally girl, you're a beautiful little bearskin rug. If I could cut your skin off and use it as a rug without you getting hurt in the process, I would do that. You're a good girl. Kane, you're a handsome little polar bear, and your blue eyes make my heart happy. They speak right into my soul, and it physically pains me. You're a good boy, even when you get a little grumpy. It's okay, bub. Jackie. Hey, handsome man. Yeah, I'm talking to you. You're a good boy. You're mama's boy. Thank you for always showing me how much you love me. I appreciate you. Kilo. You're a sweet girl, even though you love your daddy more. I understand. You're always looking out for your siblings, even if sometimes you get in little squabbles. No matter what, I love you very much. And you, my little baby, who chewed up this spot on his bed. You're a good boy. I know that sometimes it's tough because you're just a baby, but I know you don't mean it. And you're very handsome. My little sweet peas. I love you guys so much. It hurts my heart. All right. Now that we have gotten that out of the way, now I can say something about myself, right? So, KATELYN, you are a good mom. You are creative. You're going to be successful. Don't let your fears stop you from trying something different and taking a risk. This is very scary. I get scared every single day, like, oh, am I going to make enough money to make this a real living? But I believe in you. That feels funny and it's uncomfortable. Once you get going, the more positive things you put into your life, even if you can't take out the negative thoughts, just adding some positivity in there every once in a while, that will be a game changer. So if you guys want to practice that with me today, I hope that you'll send me some videos or post them in the comments of you guys doing your positive affirmations in the mirror and to your puppies. I would love to see them and see what you guys come up with.